episode of Quilt with the Stars is brought to you by Baby Lock, for the love of sewing, and Koala Cabinets, sewing furniture custom built in America. Hey everybody, you're watching Quilt with the Stars. I'm Mary Fons, and I'm here with Deb Tucker. Deb, welcome.
Thanks, Mary. It is indeed a pleasure to be here.
It's really nice, kind of homey here at the table. We're gonna have a chat.
Great. Great. Yeah. I love that.
Little fireside chat. Deb is a quilt designer of tools, a tool designer, and you've been an educator for so long, and you've lectured.
Many years.
You're just all over the place. It's great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you know, it doesn't start out being crazy like this. You know, it started out pretty low key and working locally and working with local guilds and local shops and. Things have developed over the years.
They certainly have. And before we get to sort of when things went nuts about 5 years ago and you began working in the quilt industry full time, can you tell me a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and how you started sewing initially?
It was funny. You know, grew up in Western Pennsylvania.
Okay.
You know, I live in Central Pennsylvania now, but I've lived in lots of other places. I lived in New York and lived in Vermont and moved around mostly the East Coast.
Right.
Quilting, I actually started the year before I was ready to get married.
Okay, you said that was like
1981.
Yeah. Okay.
I know exactly when it was.
Yeah.
I could probably pull the date out within 10 days.
Sure.
When I actually started, and I knew the minute that I walked into the first class, this was a good fit for me. That was 32 years ago. I've never quit.
You've
never stopped.
It happens like that. I call it the quilt epiphany. Some people have it that first class. Some people have it in the middle of the night. You know, whatever that moment is, you remember it for sure.
You do forever.
So you took that class, and what was that class, by the way? Do you remember?
It was just an adult education.
Great.
Basic piecing. It was prior to the rotary cutter. I mean, we were using, you know, template plastic and scissors and hand piecing. My first quilt was hand pieced. Took 2 years.
Aren't we happy that we have these tool designers and all this new technology that we can use?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was one of my main focuses as I grew in the quilting world. I was always looking for things that would make my life easier.
Absolutely.
Methods or processes or gadgets or tools, things that would allow me to do quilting with more efficiency and less stress.
Absolutely. And because you were teaching more and more as the years went on, you wanted those things for your students as well.
I did.
Quilters are so generous. I think they're some of the most generous people in the world. And so everything you figured out on your own, you wanted to share with other people, right?
Well, that's exactly right.
Totally.
That's exactly
so
right.
You started sort of tweaking these tools along the way.
Well, and oftentimes that's what I would do.
Yeah.
I would get a tool home and I would learn how to use it, and I'd think, you know, this is pretty good, but if I added a line here or added a line here, it would be an even better tool.
Yeah.
And it was about, it was in 2004 when I started with the Hunter Star. Came up with a good idea for being able to strip piece the Hunter Star and make it very efficient in construction.
That's a very an intricate kind of quilt block, a technique, you know, all those points. So you were like, there's got to be a better way.
There's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
And I was teaching a couple of different classes on the process, you know, trying to make it oversized and trim it down and build in the forgiveness. And literally between class number 2 and class number 3, you know, you're talking about the epiphany, I got up in the middle of the night and thought, I know how to fix all this. I know what the tool needs to look like. I know how to strip piece this. I know how to do the whole process. And proof positive. I got up and took the paper that was beside the bed. It was it's just a piece of scrap paper.
This is the sketch. This is the actual sketch. You signed it and you dated it 2004.
I did.
And that's the ruler. I mean, that's incredible. The
ruler
tool
and the process and the whole thing, it kind of came all at once.
So what happened next? You got this patented. And so tell me about how long that process took or what that meant.
I'm a teacher. I'm not a business person.
Sure.
I'd never designed anything in my life. I mean, designed quilts, but never tools.
Right.
I didn't know where to begin. So, you know, I went back to Central Pennsylvania and I was searching for someone who could cut pieces of plastic so I could actually try. Yeah, I could just use a Sharpie marker, mark a tool, and see if what I was thinking actually worked.
Right.
Asking questions, who can do this? Where do I go? And it took almost 2 years of asking questions and investigating and playing and, you know, using guinea pigs,
Absolutely.
having people come and do a little lesson and seeing if it was with what was working in my head was actually working for other quilters. And so it took about 2 years, which put it in about 2006 before it was finally to a high quality tool, good set of instructions.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. And then in 2008, we went to market with the tool. We did.
You said the cutest thing I had to say. You were like, we went and we didn't know we shouldn't be there.
We should not have even been there.
You had this booth and you didn't have business cards, but you spread the message. You were preaching the gospel. And people were paying attention. I mean,
It was... We didn't lose any money. Let's put it that way. We went to our first market and we broke even, and we considered that was a good deal.
Absolutely.
But what it did was it introduced us to the professional world.
Yes.
And we hit all the markets now, and we do an awful lot of shows. A lot of you have probably seen me at some of the shows.
Yeah.
We do shows all over the country. And
who is we? By the way, tell me about your team.
Okay, we do. My business name is Studio 180 Design.
That website we can probably pop up there, studio180design.net.
And when we started to raise this to another level, from me being just an independent teacher to an actual business, my husband and his twin sister are my other two business partners, and then the other integral part of Studio 180 Design is my daughter. She graduated just a couple years ago from RIT with an art degree, and so she does all the beautiful packaging and the artwork and the...
She does a beautiful job.
She does. She makes us look pretty.
Absolutely. I'm amazed again and again, the guests we have in the show, and I love to talk to you all and learn from you. So much of the business that gets done in quilting is a family business. Just again and again, people come and tell me, I work with my daughter, I work with my son, my husband's my manager, or whatever, and of course, I know what that's like. I work with my mom as well, so it's really touching and cool.
Very infectious. Sometimes I apologize to them for having drugged them into my world.
My mom does that too. She's like, Mary, I'm so sorry.
But they don't seem to mind too much.
No,
we all have a good time.
Exactly.
We travel together, and we all have a good time together.
And market kind of thrust you into the spotlight and thrust you into the. And so tell me, what happened next? You've created so many tools since then.
One of the most difficult ones was the Hunter Star, and that's the one that I started with. And as soon as I got my head wrapped around that, I started to think about what were the other things that I always struggled with. Other tools that I always wish I had in my toolbox.
What else needed the Tucker treatment?
Yep, and so one of the very first ones I dealt with was, it's called the Tucker trimmer. That's one of the hardest things, is figuring out what you're going to call these things. But anyway, I called it the Tucker trimmer. It's designed to work with those half square triangles, quarter square triangles, those kind of units. Premise on all my tools is the same. You make things bigger than they need to be.
Yep.
Trim them down and clean them up.
For accuracy every time.
For accuracy every time. Every building block is perfect.
Awesome.
So that was the next one that I developed, and we actually went to market with these two tools. They were the ones that we launched the business with. But then flying geese, that was one of the next ones. There's lots of different ways to do it. If you're not familiar with the wing clipper tool and the process, you can visit our website.
Absolutely. Because you have tutorials there, you have video, all kinds of things.
So you can see it before you make any investment in it. You can see what it's all about.
After you're done watching this, you can just click over. It's like right there. It's like your finger. You just go like that.
It's right there.
Yeah. You do it.
And so I've got a couple other ones. We went then into the V block, which makes those long, tall, skinny star points.
Oh, okay. Yes. The
peaky and spike. If you've been around quilting a long time, you know that term.
What that is,
but it makes this type of unit that has those seams that go from a corner to the center, a corner to a center. Very traditionally difficult unit to make. The tool has an angled edge that allows you to cut the center and the side triangles with a little extra fabric built in. And then the square section is what you use when you trim it down and clean it up. It has all the diagonal guidelines and X's so that the trimming is so incredibly easy.
It's like you can't not make a quilt, people. Like usually you still, how did you not do it? And this one too. And
this is one of my latest ones.
Yes, this is
the Rapid Fire Lemoyne Star. And again, Lemoyne Star is one of those ones, probably in 30 years of quilting, I've done a dozen blocks.
Sure.
Till I came up with this tool and technique. It allows me to make these oversized with strip piecing, no Y seams, and minutes. It takes me about 20 minutes to a half an hour to go from strips to a finished block, and they're gorgeous when they're done.
When we were talking about your quilts and looking at all those beautiful projects, you said something about you had a whole quilt cut out with all of these. Was it the Hunter Star? About 4 hours? You had like
the Hunter Star.
I mean, total.
Yeah.
From yardage to all your pieces.
To the play point.
To the play point.
To the play point where we taken those pieces, and it was 4 hours and 20 minutes to cut it, to sew it, to piece all those pieces, and get to the design point. Now there's a couple hours left,
of course,
but not too many.
So it's easier and it's faster. I mean, that's all the name of the game.
Right. And
a lot of these tools are flexible, and you can do different things with them. And this is kind of where this comes in too.
Right.
Yeah?
One of the latest things that we've started to introduce are what we call technique sheets, and those are what else? You know, so if you've got the Tucker trimmer in your hand and you know how to use it, and you're familiar with what it's all about, this says, well, you know what? If you've got that, you can also do this. You can also do this. So it goes above and beyond. They always include charts. Oftentimes they include designs and ideas they're not a project.
Sure.
You know, it's just a technique sheet. So you can store it, you can put it somewhere so you can refer to it. So if you see the shaded 4-patch unit in a pattern somewhere, you can say, wait a minute, I don't want to cut individual pieces.
Exactly.
I want to do this with the Deb strip piecing technique and the Tucker trimmer. You can do it. Just find the sheet and off you go.
I love stuff like this because what I tend to do is I fall in love with a block and I want to design a quilt around, one particular block. So for me, this is great, and you can do samplers, all kinds of things.
Sure.
It's great. And this here, you said the War and Peace version. The website has some tutorials, but this DVD has got all of the good stuff.
Well, this DVD goes specifically with the Hunter Star.
Got it.
We have taken all of our online videos. A lot of people don't have access to a computer in their room. So we've taken all of our online YouTube videos and compiled them on discs.
Cool.
So, we have 3 different discs right now so that you can take them down if you have a TV and a CD player in your studio.
Many
you
people
can
do.
just plug it in and you can watch it on a big screen. That might be a little scary, but you can watch it on a big screen if you want to. So
cool.
Yep.
Now I want to talk about a couple other things. I want to talk about your relationship with Marie and the partnership that you have with this novelist, and then also about your quilt philosophy. We can end on that. But tell me a little bit about this partnership.
Marie Bostwick is a New York Times bestselling author. She actually showed up incognito in one of my classes a couple years ago, and she was recovering from one of her first Cobble Court books, and she didn't want anyone to know who she was. So it was a big secret. I finally weaseled it out of her. It's a funny story, but soon after, we became very good friends very quickly, as happens sometimes.
Fast friends.
And she approached me with the idea that, how about would you consider designing quilts that go along with the stories that she writes? Because her stories have an underlying theme.
Absolutely.
So I design at least 2 quilts for every single one of the books. This is the book that came out spring of 2013.
Very cool.
And it's got a free quilt that I give to her on her website, and one more involved.
That's really neat. You're the first person I met who's got that kind of. I mean, that is a neat project to have as a quilter. That you're part of a fictional story. You've got you're.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
It's just fun. It's just fun. But it's hard too.
Yeah,
trying to get into her head and design what she's actually thinking about is challenging.
Yeah, you got to work together.
And that's a good thing too.
Absolutely.
It's always good to challenge yourself.
And it is, and that kind of brings us to the end of our time here. But I asked you when I was speaking with you earlier. What's the thing you want to share the most about what message do you want to tell the people who are watching this about what you do and what you love about quilting?
Well, what I love about quilting, for me, is it is my relaxation.
Yeah.
And so whatever you do, try not to build stress into it.
Yeah.
Try to enjoy the process, whatever it is, whatever you decide to do.
Yeah.
Be open to new ideas, to new gadgets, to new ways. Even if you don't use them, at least know about them.
Absolutely.
At least understand, a little bit about how things happen, and have fun.
Yeah.
Oh, have fun. Life is way too short not to enjoy the road trip.
Absolutely, and we don't do this because it's work. We shouldn't be work, and that's why what you do is really great, because it helps people. It's faster, it's easier. All those things are coming across. So good job.
Well, thanks, I appreciate that, and thanks again for having me here.
It's my pleasure, Deb Tucker. Thank you.
Real pleasure.
See you next time. This episode of Quilt with the Stars is brought to you by Baby Lock, for the love of sewing, and Koala Cabinets, sewing furniture custom built in America.